Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotirtha Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotirtha Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, okay. So, but the verse we're chanting is supposed to be 26?
Well, starting on, at least we end on 26, read up to 26. But I think it's actually 23,
4, 25, and 26. Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 15th day of September 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 8, Bali Maharaj surrenders his life, and we'll be reading text 23 and subsequent verses. We'll start at 23. Everyone's got that up with their device or book. Okay. Yat Parayor Ashata Di Salilam Pradaya. No? Durvankuraya Api Vidhaya Satim saparyam api uttamam gatim asau bhajate trilokim dashvan aviklava manah katam artim richet. It's 8:22:23. Did I say 20? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. 8:22:23. Yat padayora shatadhi salilam prapadya. I'm sorry. Yat padayora shatadhi salilam pradaya. Dovankurayra pividhaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katam artim uchet. Yat padayora satadhi salilam prapaya. Padaya dovankurayra pividaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. Yad padayora shatadhi salilam pradaya. Dovankurayra pividhaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. Apyuttamam gatimaso bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. Yat padayor satadi salilam pradaya. Dovankurayra pividhaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. Anyone else want to try it? Govardhan? Okay. How about you, Naveen? Yad padayor satadhi salilam pradaya. Dovankurayra pividhaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. Yad padayora shatadhi salilam pradaya. Dovankurayra pividhaya satim saparyam. Apyuttamam gatimaso bhajate trilokim. Dasvana viklabamana katamartim richet. You want to try it, Dharma? Okay, a little tough. Anyone online?
Yat padayora shatadi salilam pradaya.
Yat padayora shatadi salilam pradaya.
Durvan kurairapi vidaya satim saparyam.
Durvan kurairapi vidaya satim saparyam.
Apyutamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim.
Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim.
Dashvanaviklavamana katamartim richet.
Dashvanaviklavamana katamartim richet. Anyone else?
Yat padayora shatati salilam pradaya.
Yat padayora shatadi salilam pradaya.
Durvankarara pividaya satyam saparyam.
Durvankarara pividaya satim saparyam.
Apyutamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim.
Apyuttamam gatimasau bhajate trilokim.
Dasvanaviklavamana katamartim richet.
Dashvanaviklavamana katamartim richet. Thank you, Vanessa. Yat padayoho. At the lotus feet of your lordship. Ashatadhi, a great-minded person who is without duplicity. Salilam, water. Pradaya, offering. Durva, with newly grown grass. Ankurai, and with buds of flowers. Api, although. Vidhaya, offering. Satim, most exalted. Saparyam, with worship. Api, although. Uttamam, the most highly elevated. Gatim, destination. Asau, such a worshipper. Bhajate, deserves. Trilokim, the three worlds. Dashvan, giving to you. Aviklavamanaha, without mental duplicity. Katam, how. Artim, the distressed condition of being arrested. Richet, he deserves. Translation, this is Lord Brahma speaking to Brahmanadev. By offering even water, newly grown grass, or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. This Bali Maharaj, without duplicity, has now offered everything in the three worlds. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? He's been arrested and bound up. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, it is stated, Patram pushpam phalam thoyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktupaditam ashnami prayatatmanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind that if an unsophisticated person with devotion and without duplicity offers at the lotus feet of the Lord a little water, a flower, a fruit, or a leaf, the Lord accepts it. Then the devotee is promoted to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. Brahma drew the Lord's attention to this subject and requested that he release Bali Maharaj, who was suffering, being bound by the ropes of Varuna, and who had already given everything, including the three worlds and whatever he possessed. Text 24. All right, I'll just read the English. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Lord Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus he has no respect for anyone within the three worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions. Purport. A civilization that has become godless because of material advancement in opulence is extremely dangerous. Because of great opulence, a materialist becomes so proud that he has no regard for anyone and even refuses to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The result of such a mentality is certainly very dangerous. To show special favor, the Lord sometimes makes an example of someone like Bali Maharaj, who was now bereft of all his possessions. While rotating in the cycle of birth and death again and again in different species because of his own fruitive activities, the dependent living entity, by good fortune, may happen to become a human being. This human birth is very rarely obtained. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. Thus it is not always a fact that a living being's loss of all opulence is a sign of the Supreme Lord's mercy upon him. The Lord can act any way he likes. He may take away one's opulence, or he may not. There are varieties of forms of life, and the Lord treats them according to the circumstances as he chooses. Generally, it is to be understood that a human form of life is one of great responsibility. Purushak pakatisto hi punkte pakatijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sarasadyoni janmasi. The living entity in material nature follows the ways of life, experiencing the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. After thus rotating through many, many forms of life in the cycle of birth and death, the living being gets a chance for a human form. Therefore, every human being, especially one belonging to a civilized nation or culture, must be extremely responsible in his activities. He should not risk degradation in the next life. Because the body will change, tata dehantara praptir, we should be extremely careful. To see to the proper use of life is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. The foolish living entity declares freedom from all control, but factually he is not free. He is fully under the control of material nature. He must therefore be most careful and responsible in the activities of his life. All right, final verse, text 26. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a high status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. When in spite of possessing all these opulences a person is not proud, this means that he is fully aware that all his opulences are due to the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He therefore engages all his possessions in the service of the Lord. A devotee knows very well that everything, even his body, belongs to the Supreme Lord. If one lives perfectly in such Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that one's being deprived of his wealth is not to be considered the special mercy of the Lord. If one continues in his opulent position but does not become unnecessarily proud, falsely thinking that he is the proprietor of everything, this is the Lord's special mercy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is rather surprising for Lord Brahma, that Lord Vamanadev has already taken everything that Bali Maharaj has and arrested Bali, and now he's going to send him to Rasatala. And so Brahma is protesting. He said, why should this be? Is that he's bereft of everything now? He's actually giving everything to you, given everything to you. And so really what it is the fact that Vamanadev is showing Bali's advancement by not only taking everything, but also arresting him. In other words, he's showing that Bali was not attached to what he had given, and that he is fully surrendered to Vamanadev, whatever he wants to do. This is actually the measure of the devotee. There's a famous verse, this probably has come up in this connection. Yasyaham anagunnami harishe taddanang shanai. This is spoken to Yudhishthir, I think on the battle of on the Kurukshetra field. But Basically, it means that if I show my mercy, really mercy to someone, I gradually take away all his wealth. And the rest of the verse, I forget the Sanskrit, but it says that, and then his family doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Now he's broke, and so he lost that also, you see. Now the question always is, how do we react to these reverses in our life? That is the measure of whether we're Krishna conscious or not. A materialist, he works hard, and he may be cheating and stealing, whatever, but somehow gets some money, and in this society will have a position, and because he has wealth, right, he can be invited in so many places. But it is just a deeper entanglement in the material world. And that's why I have a reference verse that is very pertinent. This is one of Queen Kunti's prayers, the one I referred to, I think. First Canto, 8th chapter, text 26, the famous verse. Fortunately, the editor messed up the translation when he first did it, and so the full meaning of it hadn't come out. So what is Janmai Shaya Shuta Shribi Edamanamadak Naiba Hatibadhatan Vaitsvama Kimchana Gochara? And the translation is, my dear Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted, because one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. In other words, can't call out your name. The whole thing is about chanting, and then purport is very wonderful purport. And the word abhidhatum, which is translated in the word by words as to address you in feeling, somehow in the first editing became approach, and so it says it cannot approach you with sincere feeling. But the whole point is, since, especially in this age, chanting the holy name is the special benediction of the Lord, it's an easy and practical way to become purified and go back to Godhead. What is that verse? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kalikal Mashanashanam Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. This is in the Vedas, this is in Upanishads. Kali Santarana Upanishad, the Upanishad that teaches you how to get free from the evils of Kali Yuga. Kali Santarana, delivered. So this is the main verse there. And it gives the Hare Krishna mantra. And it says, these 16 names, Shodashakam Namnam, Kalikal Mashanashanam, when one chants and hears them properly, can destroy all the ills and evils of the Kali Yuga. In other words, you may still live in the Kali Yuga, but you will be able to transcend and the effect of it. You can search through all the Vedas, you won't find a better means than this particular mantra. And Lord Chaitanya, I think he quoted this in his teachings. So, but you have to be able to chant it with concentration and from the heart. It can't just be superficial, something, that is some material ceremony or something. So in order to do that, you can't be meditating on your opulences. These are standard opulences. Good birth in an aristocratic family, Aishwarya, of course, money, but also high education and bodily beauty. All these things are coveted throughout the world. So here's the Edamana, progressively increasing mada, intoxication. So people who have these and they have no spiritual knowledge, this becomes their all in all, isn't it? And if somehow they lose it, it's like devastating. They feel they may commit suicide. Prabhupada tells stories of, I think it was some gambler, something who lost everything. No, this is during Mahatma Gandhi's day, when he was so influential, and he himself was leading a renounced life, materially. Although I think he still had his wife with him and everything. But so those who wanted to join his movement seriously, they were encouraged to take that model. And so there was this lawyer who was making a lot of money. He was a very successful lawyer, Prabhupada knew about it, I think in Calcutta. And so he just gave it all away, renounced everything. But after doing that, he couldn't live. He couldn't live, he committed suicide. because it was such a shock. Even though he was able to, I guess, go to the demonstration with Mahatma Gandhi, it wasn't really a spiritual renunciation. It was for a material reason. So he was still attached, and he was lamenting. Like it says, Brahmabhuta Prasanna Shochiti Nakangshiti. To come to the Brahmabhuta platform is characterized by these things. If you're doing it through bhakti, you become joyful. And in the Purport, I think Prabhupada says, if if someone is not joyful and pretending to be a devotee, then he's not really doing it right. In other words, he's committing all kinds of offenses. So one becomes naturally joyful, the spiritual prasanatma, and nashochati nakangshati. You're not lamenting for anything you've lost, and you're not hankering for anything material. You're completely satisfied because you're Krishna conscious. You're enjoying it every moment. So in kind of samaksarveta bhusheti mad bhaktim labate param. One sees everyone equally as a spirit soul, and one attains bhakti to me in that if it's done properly. So this is a very important verse. For understanding. As Prabhupada says, all materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord or by addressing him feelingly. O Govinda, O Krishna. It's said that in the Shastra that by uttering once the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There's not the least exaggeration. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such power. But there is a quality to such utterances also. And this is so pertinent for us. How can we really be free, by practicing Krishna consciousness and a natural distaste or disinterest, detachment from material things is meant to take place. We have the 4 regulative principles, and they're serious. One has to follow them very strictly. But the hankering may be there for one or more of them. But if you're actually practicing Krishna consciousness nicely, getting the higher taste, prasadam, this is wonderful prasadam. Who needs meat? Do I really want meat? It becomes abominable, isn't it? Especially cow meat. My God, who can imagine it? So that getting the higher taste means that you're getting the mercy of Krishna, and then the chanting, you become more and more enthusiastic for the chanting. That is your source of actual spiritual pleasure, beginning with the chanting and all kinds of other services. So Bali Maharaj now is showing why he's a Mahajan. Not only did he reject his so-called guru, who instructed him not to be careful, don't offer this little brahmachari anything because it's actually God and he'll take everything. And so he said, what are you telling me? We're supposed to give charity to the Brahmins, and especially the Lord, and now you say don't do it. And why? Shukracharya say, well, what's going to happen if you give everything away? What will happen to my salary? You see, it was all material concept. So he rejected Sukracharya, and he agreed to the 3 steps of land. I'll give you 3 steps of land, even though he suspected now it might be more than that. And so, then Vamana, he just expanded so huge that with 1 step he covered the world, the 2nd step he covered the rest of the universe, and the 3rd step, what am I going to do with the 3rd step? So famously he said, put it on my head. In other words, I'm giving you my whole self. I'm surrendering everything. And by that act, he became, he showed he was really a Mahajan and a worthy grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So, but here's Lord Brahma seeing that, well, okay, fine, now why arrest him? It seems like, isn't that overkill? Why even punish him? But he didn't see it as punishment. He's accepting it all as the mercy of Vamanadev. And so, then he's going to be exiled down to this lower planet and everything. But Vamana is going to be there as his doorman. That's good. Proving that he's such an advanced devotee. So there's so many important teachings here. And, So here, the text 24, Vamanadeva answers Brahma. My dear Lord Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus he has no respect for anyone within the three worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions. So we can see that all over the place, in the modern world. We have the multi-billionaires who, it's obscene. Do they need more money? Do they need tax breaks? I mean, come on. It's greed. It's obscene. And meanwhile, there's so much, people suffering and inflation's going on. So it just shows that this modern age is the Kali Yuga. And without Krishna consciousness, it's completely self-destructive. This climate thing, because it's artificial with burning all these fossil fuels. And so this happens in the Bhagavatam. You remember where, when I think Prithu comes, and the earth has stopped giving grains because there's too many demons. You see, the burden of the earth. So Prithu has to get the earth going again, giving grains, But that's happening with all of this crazy climate change, which people don't believe in it, but it's happening everywhere. It's so many areas are becoming like drought, drying, and then the other areas flooding, just like in India, Texas, the flood, because the heat means more waters in the atmosphere evaporating from the oceans. And so when it rains, it can become like what they call it, atmospheric river or something. It can become horrific damage. So this is all due to the sinful activities and the obsession with material goods, material wealth. So Bali is showing by his detachment that he's ecstatic. Actually, he's given everything, and Vamanadeva is there, and he got arrested. Okay, I'm arrested if that's what you want, my lord. So he's not upset. And he'll, in the next Manvantara, he'll be Lord Indra. He's actually going to take the position of Lord Indra. That's the idea, is that the demigods, they're devotees, but they also, in Indra's case especially, he needs to be every so often chastised because he loses it. He didn't recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he poured down the rain. And it was like, if Krishna hadn't lifted that hill, what would happen? They would have drowned. All the cows, residents would have been finished. Krishna, of course, saved them, And then Indra understood, and he begged forgiveness, because after all, he's a devotee. He has the responsible post, and he's forgiven. But then later on, when Krishna came to his heavenly planet with Satyabhama, I think. And she wanted what kind of tree is it? I spent Parijata flowers. So she said, well, I'll get you a whole tree. So he uplifted a whole tree. So no, you can't take a tree. It's Indra. So there was a little fight, it wasn't a big thing. But Sukadev condemns Indra. He said, this stupid Indra, He's been through all of this, and now again he's worrying about his Parijata tree. So that's the danger of letting the senses get out of control and becoming attached to material things. Now, Srila Prabhupada showed how, and even there's one pastime where I think it was one of the Ramakrishna yogis or something, or maybe it was Ramakrishna himself, where someone was offering money, he says, no, because it's contaminating for. But Prabhupada said, "Oh, give me, I'll take it, all of it, you see, and spend it for Krishna." What did Prabhupada do with the money? He printed books and he built temples. That takes an unlimited amount of money, right? And so he had his devotees in Bombay going out and meeting wealthy people and getting donations. I remember in New York, I joined in New York, Brooklyn Temple, and when I joined, there was a campaign to raise money to get a place in Manhattan, and they eventually did it. So I remember, because I had a job, and I would come to the Sunday feast and have this feast, and they knew I had a job, so I had some money. not much, but I haven't. So they assigned one of the collectors, the ladies, you know. I don't know, maybe they were doing books or something else, but they was collecting. So she was telling, she knew I was reading the books, you know, because I was coming regularly and everything. Said, you know it all belongs to Krishna. I'm taking halva and eating my chorus, you know. And she said, you know it all belongs to Krishna, right? Said, yeah, I know. You know, okay, you know, give a big donation. You know. Anyway, that I didn't at that time. But later on, I went home and I was doing my sadhana, and when I was chanting to my beautiful picture of the Super Soul on the wall, I'll show you, it's classic. And then I kept thinking, you know, he's telling me it all belongs to me, it all belongs to me, it all belongs to me. Okay, you know. So actually, I took my little savings, it was about, I think, $1,700, which, you look it up, you know, in 1972, it's like 10 times what it would be today. I mean, the inflation. So anyway, it was funny because I had bought him a Mridanga from Koladri. They had come, I don't know if I told this story once, that they had gone to India and bought a bunch of stuff extra than what they needed in New Vrindavan, and they drove to New York with a truck with some things, and one was a Mridanga, and I said, oh, I can maybe learn how to play the Mridanga, because I'm into drumming. So I bought the Mridanga with the check. I had a checking account, gave it. And I went home, and then various things happened, and I decided to join the temple. So I joined the temple, and of course I gave the Mridanga to the temple, you know. And the next time Koladri came to Brooklyn and said, hey, what happened? That check bounced, you know, because I'm living in the temple. I don't have any bank account or anything. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, you know, like that. So the temple gave him the $30 or whatever it was at that time. Funny. But it was liberating. You know, it was liberating because you get a little attached to this and that apartment and everything. But Krishna was so kind, you know, he took away everything, my attachment for it. And then I joined the temple, and it was, hey, you know, I felt very liberated, and it was still liberating. So this is the lesson here, is that the wealth isn't the bad thing, it's the attachment for it. Wealth can be used in Krishna consciousness. This famous verse by Rupa Goswami. What is real renunciation? Yukta vairagya. What was it? Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchite. Anasaktasya vishayan. Free from attachment to the objects of the senses. But engaging them, if you have access to them, appropriately in the service of the Lord, if it's possible. Prabhupada said in one famous purport, we can even use missiles. I don't know how we can use missiles, but he said that. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe. So you're not bound by whatever wealth you have, because you're using it for Krishna. And by doing that, you're becoming bound to Krishna, you know, by attachment. We want attachment to Krishna. We want it to increase more and more and more. Nirbandha Krishna bandhe yuktam vairagyam uchate. This is actual vairagya, yukta vairagya. Vairagya, not artificial, you know, but vairagya that is part of your becoming connected to Krishna. Yuktam vairagyam uchate. And we should always remember, this comes up in the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna, he's calling Krishna different names, and Prabhupada talks how the names are important to understand, you know, in the context. So one is Rishikesha. Rishikesha. So this is another verse from, there's one, I think it's also quoted in the Bhakti Samana Sindhu. Sarvapari vinimuktam yat paretpaina nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakta ruchate. This is the definition of bhakti. It's right near Anyabhilashita Shunyam. I think it's in the same chapter it's quoted. So sarva upadi vinimuktam. So being free from all these false designations. Oh, I am the president of this company. I am this, I am that, you know. All bodily identifications. Being free of that. Sarvapadi vinimuktam tatparatvena nirmalam. Nirmalam means pure. And as evidence, rishikena rishikesha sevanam. Serving Rishikesh, the master of the senses, with all of your senses. This is bhakti. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakta ruchate. And There was one more that I was thinking of. But that's the basic idea, is that you understand that everything, including your own body and mind and everything that you have, it belongs to Krishna, because he's created everything. So everything belongs to Krishna. And bhakti means to resume that activity where you're engaging everything you have, all your senses, your property, whatever you may have, in the service of the Lord, and being yukta, being connected in that way. And that's the definition of bhakti. And it's so uplifting and pleasurable for the soul that you lose any attachment for material things. This is nicely expressed by Yamunacharya in his I think it's part of the Stotra Ratna. And Prabhupada quotes it twice in purports in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Yamunacharya, I learned, was it Dharma who told the story of his life? I didn't know about his early life. But he was raised in the Gurukul, brilliant student, and he was known especially for his, like Lord Chaitanya, his debating skills, So the king had a court pundit who was very expert at defeating anyone who came. It was kind of entertainment for the king. Someone would come and they said, okay, I'm going to take on your pundit. And he would lose, and I don't know what happened with that. So that's, so Yamunacharya, he said, well, let me try it. Let me go to the court. He was just, I don't know how old he was, 12, 15, something like that. So he said, all right, give me a shot. I want to try to take on your pundit. And it said, you're only 15 years old. What can you do? So, well, give me a shot. So the king said, okay, and it was like a game for him. If you can defeat my pundit, then you can have half my kingdom. Whoa, so he was pretty confident, overconfident. So I am going to research maybe Ramapati, the questions that he asked. You know this story, right? Yamunacharya, how he defeated the pundit. And I forgot the questions. But unchaste or... Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 or 3. But I'm going to research and tell them. But anyway, he asked these questions and the pundit said he couldn't figure it out. How can the queen be unchaste? And he didn't want to say she's unchaste. Either the king would behead him or something. So anyway, there were 3 questions. The pundit was stumped. And then Yamunacharya explained how it's true in a certain way, without him being unfaithful and everything. Anyway, so he was so clever in that. And so he gets half the kingdom. Great. He's coming out of the Gurukul or whatever. Now he's got a kingdom, So, he was the king for a while. And he was enjoying what the kings enjoy. So then one day, one of his old buddies from the Gurukul came by and said, oh, Prabhu, nice to see you again, So I think it was maybe the friend, he said, let's go for a walk in one of your gardens, So they started walking, and he started reminding him of all these wonderful shlokas that they had learned in the Gurukul, the nectar. So Yamunacharya was remembering, and he was so thankful he was getting into it. So by that taste, he just kept walking. He walked right out of the kingdom and gave it up and became Yamunacharya, the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya. But he composed a verse describing this experience, which Prabhupada quotes in the purports, Bhagavad Gita. Yadabadi mamacheta Krishna padada vinde namanamana sadhaman yudyatam hrantumasit tatabade badanadi sangame smayamane bhavati mukhavikaro sushtunishtivanangsha. Ever since, Yadabadi means ever, Yadabadi mamacheta, my consciousness has been absorbed in serving and relishing the lotus feet of the Lord. It was Krishna Padada Vinde, Namanama Rasa, ever fresh, ever new rasa. Dhamma Yuditam Rantamasi. Then, since then, whenever I happen to remember, my activities with my harem, let's just put it that way, he said, his lips turned and his face, and Prabhupada very charmingly says, I spite at the thought. I spite at it. He spits. So that's the perfect example of getting the higher taste and becoming completely detached and detestful for sense gratification. And in that, state, of course, he wrote the Stotaratna. He became a great acharya, Yamunacharya. So that's the process of devotional service. And Bali is showing actually how, even owning the whole universe, having all of this, becomes insignificant for you if you reestablish your connection to the Supreme Lord and you feel that mercy. And so Bali is not sorry, he's not depressed, he's not crying because everything was taken and then he was, tied up. This is all Leela, and he's helping Vamanadev teach, by things, whatever. And so he feels ecstatic, although Brahma's doubtful. And then he gets exiled, and he'll be there for a while until he becomes Indra and runs it. So it's very instructive, this whole passage, and it all depends on understanding. The knowledge is so important. What our real constitutional position is. We're eternal servants of Krishna. We're part and parcel of Krishna, and we can only really be happy and peaceful by resuming that identity and living that identity, and that's what Krishna consciousness means. And in the process of doing that, we'll become peaceful and blissful. And if we're really surrendered, we'll become agents in Lord Chaitanya's army and helping others to come to that too. Okay, so the class has gone over a little bit. Any comments or questions we have about this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam?
I have the pundits' 3 conditions for the debate.
The pundits' 3 conditions for the debate?
And Yamuna's answers.
The Yamunas?
Yamunacharya, the 3.
Oh, do you have those? You looked them up. So what was the first thing you were saying?
Prove that your mother is not barren, prove that the king is righteous, and prove that the queen is chaste. And so this is how he answered. If my mother were barren, how could I be standing here? That proves she is not barren. 2, the king is righteous because he has appointed such a great pundit. You, too, represent his court. That shows his righteousness. As for the queen's chastity, I cannot speak of such matters because it is beyond the reach of public debate. Only the king himself can attest to her purity. By not speaking further, I honor her chastity. Okay. I guess that was it.
All right. I'm gonna do further research and confirm that. Huh? There was another one?
No, I'm saying there's more explanation.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more. Anyway, we'll get into that. The point was that he was so intelligent that he won the kingdom, but ultimately he gave it up. He didn't want it. Okay, anyone online? Vijay?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, I'll try to answer.
The text 26
Uh-huh.
is speaking about no. What is the verse you approached today, you read today, that speaks about being proud?
Well, that's where maybe we started, because we kind of got off because we lost a few days. We started with 23, 23. By offering even water, newly grown grass, flower buds. In other words, by patam pusham palam toyam, one gets the mercy of the Lord. But this Bali gave everything. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? That's not it.
Oh, the next one.
All right, this is
the next one, yes.
Vamanadev speaking himself. My dear Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus he has no respect for anyone within the 3 worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions.
Who's speaking this?
This is Vamanadev. He's speaking.
No, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. How about the next one? While rotating...
No, this is the verse.
Oh, it is the verse.
Based on which I need to ask my question.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is all about being proud, no?
Yes, proud due to material opulence. We see it all over the place in modern day.
Yes, and in the Bible, I found, and my question is based on the Hare Krishna movement being in agreement with this biblical principle which is to be found in Proverbs 16:18. And it goes as follows, quote, "Pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall." So based on all of this, my question would be, is it that the Hare Krishnas agree with this biblical principle?
Sure.
So, and how do you explain it?
That pride goes.
In other words, why is it that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall? That would be my question.
Well, we see it all the time, and in the Bhagavatam, you know, we have these demons. I mean, who could be more proud than Hiranyakashipu or Ravana, right? The master of the universe, some unlimited wealth, unlimited women. You know, that's Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. So that, but then they both fell. Ultimately, they fall, even if they don't, you know, get the blessing of being killed by the Lord, just by death. What does Krishna say in Gita? Mrityu sarvaharas chaham. No matter how wealthy one is, I take it all away at death. What good is your wealth when your body's lying there at death and you've gone on, you know, been dragged away by the Yamadutas? So the point is that wealth, you know, inevitably, if there's no understanding of your relation to Krishna, then wealth produces pride, because you have control. You control people. You can buy whatever you want. You can fly off whatever you want. Naturally, we see these billionaires. They're so puffed up. It's unbelievable. But it's crazy because it's temporary. It's in a kind of intoxication. You see, your intelligence is covered, and it only works if you don't believe in the next life, and really you don't believe in God. They may pay lip service to you know, religion, but they really don't believe in God as a controller, as the owner of everything. So that's the problem, is that it's in kind of intoxication, and that's what Kunti was saying there. Janmaishaya Shuddha Edam Edamana Madak. Madak means mad, progressively mad or intoxicated with these things. A good birth, oh, you know, I'm a Brahmin, you know, and we have you know, wealth with these billionaires, millionaires. So it's just a fact of life. The false ego becomes very big, and it was there during the biblical days too. It's just a principle of material life. So you know, that's why it says that the poor shall inherit. Just being poor is not enough to be pious, but you know, possessing nothing or coveting nothing, or using your wealth for the service of the Lord, that helps your devotional service. But that doesn't come unless one is usually, you know, made humbled by the Lord. And that happened with Indra, and it happens with others who have a lot of wealth. And then when, like Prabhupada had so much wealth at his disposal, you know, but he used it all for Krishna. And that's why he was respected. Whereas these other bogus yogis, you know, they came, like, there's a great article. It's not a great article because I wrote it, but it was given to me by Amala Bhakta, which I can send you if you send me your email. He was an established yogi, teaching Hatha Yoga in New York City. Had a nice clientele. He was working for this Yogi Gupta. And he was due to get his own place in the Himalayas, actually. He was scheduled. So, okay, hey, you can't just talk like that. Come on. So anyway, when I met him, eventually he quit his thing, even though he had a position there, and joined the Hare Krishnas when I was in L.A. Anyways, the story about it, I thought he was coming to steal our bhaktas. You know, and I warned the Bhakta leader about him, but it turns out he wanted to be a Bhakta, and he became Amala Bhakta. Das, I mean, Amala Bhakta is Prabhupada. But anyway, so then he came down, because I was working with Bhakti Godhead magazine, and he came to the offices, and he wanted to his whole account of how he quit this guru to be published in the magazine. So he told me the story, we took notes and everything, and I wrote an article. And it's fascinating how he got disillusioned, and then he went to the temple. There was a temple in New York, a big temple in Manhattan at that time, our only temple we have had in Manhattan. And he heard Vidyananda Maharaj give class, and he was blown away. Anyway, so he escaped from there and he came to LA and he joined in LA. So it's very instructive about this, you know, how he saw the falsity of the false gurus, because the guru was using his knowledge to make money and to exploit, you know, Amala Bhakta and other leaders. So that's a deep corruption, and Prabhupada would condemn these bogus yogis in his books. And you know, he said this is part of what Krishna consciousness is trying to do, is to defeat them and show their you know, the damage that you have to be careful who you surrender to, you know. So anyway, that's the answer, is that pride comes before a fall, sure as anything, and wealth is a big load on your head. It weighs you down. If you're absorbed in getting wealth and spending it and flaunting it, that's a million miles away from Krishna consciousness. And eventually, you're brought low. It's taken away. Everything is taken away by death. You have the whole point of the second chapter, beginning, is that we have to be concerned about our real life, which is going to go on after death. So, planning for our next birth is what Krishna consciousness is all about, hoping that it's in the spiritual world, that we go back to Godhead. So that means understanding the simple principle. Ishavashamidam samam. Everything belongs to Krishna, including us, our senses, our body, our money, whatever we have control of. And the more that we use it in Krishna's service, the more we'll feel free, and the more we'll feel joy and awakened in Krishna consciousness. That's about the best I can do, Vijay.
Yes, and your answer reminded me of another biblical principle, and maybe you know it by memory, which begins by saying that it's easier for a camel to, do you know it?
Yeah, go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to.
Do you mind saying it?
It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go back to heaven, to God, back to Godhead. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right. That's it. Thank you very much, Dravida.
Okay, Haribol. All glories to
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Haribol. All right, we'll adjourn now. Thank you. All glories to Srila. I'm sorry?
Why have they used the example of a camel?
Well, we could use an elephant. I mean, that's what it's in. We find that in our books, right? Isn't it? That you'll